bigwigs considered to fill 9 seats in the East African Legislative Assembly. A college student turns 1,600 Kenyan shillings loan to a business making eco-friendly products and employing 15 workers. And investigations into the killing of a Pakistan journalist Arshad Sharif continue, with the Pakistan minister saying Sharif was killed in targeted attack. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm in the company of Sami Okelo, our sign language interpreter for the night, and I go by the name Daphne Orina, stepping in for Ann Odida. Let's get started. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived in Kenya for a 2-day state visit. During today's briefing at State House, an array of issues took the center stage, among them being the deportation of Kenyan illegal immigrants, and the relaxation of the strict visa requirements for Kenyans visiting South Africa, all aimed at further strengthening bilateral relations.
South African President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa arrived in Kenya yesterday evening for a 2-day state visit. Ramaphosa was then welcomed by his host, President William Ruto, today at State House. During today's briefing, President William Ruto mentioned the good relations and ties between Kenya and South Africa. On the other hand, the South African head of state mentioned exploring business opportunities and fostering trade in Kenya and South Africa as a major area of discussion during his 2-day visit.
Of our respective delegations to take stock of the current state of our bilateral relations, while also exploring other areas of mutual interest and possible cooperation.
Amidst the ongoing conflicts in DRC, Ethiopia, and Western Sahara, President Ramaphosa said that the meeting with President Ruto will also focus on the promotion of peace and stability. Also being among the key areas of discussion, the strictness of visa requirements for Kenyans visiting South Africa will be relaxed starting from January 2023, as President Ruto notes. Consequently, Ramaphosa remarked that Kenyans holding ordinary passports will be able to travel to South Africa on a free 90 days regime visa. This is the first bilateral visit President Ramaphosa is making to Kenya as the South African leader.
On the progress we have made in the long-awaited visa-free regime between Kenya and South Africa. From January 1, Your Excellency, we will have a different regime, thanks to your personal intervention on this matter and the wealth of experience that have been brought on board by your officials.
That is without having visas. We agreed that indeed Kenyans should be able to visit South Africa without requiring them to have visas, and that this dispensation will commence on the 1st of January in 2023, and that our officials will speed up the processes of putting this into effect.
Jeff Mwangi, KUTV.
In other news, the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP27, is underway in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, and the issue on climate change financing has been greatly covered in today's discussions as developing countries ask to be financed from the loss and damages caused by climate change.
It is the 27th Conference on Climate Change prepared by the United Nations in Egypt to discuss on the appropriate ways to curb the challenge of climate change globally. In attendance are more than 130 heads of state, together with more than 30,000 delegates. Today marks the 4th day since the conference was officially launched on 6th of November. Discussions on financing the developing countries, which have been greatly affected by climate change, has been greatly covered. According to developing countries including Africa, they are asking to be compensated 12.1 trillion annually as per the agreement to fund African countries during the Climate Change Summit in 2015 that was held in Paris, France. President William Ruto, who represented Kenya and African continent, has called on partners to rise up on the occasion and help African countries mitigate the ravaging drought.
It is in this spirit that I therefore call for the speedy capitalization of existing climate finance mechanisms, that is both under the Convention and Paris Agreement.
The developed countries have been viewed as the major contributor to climate change by releasing poisonous gases to the atmosphere. According to President Ruto, the effects of climate change have been greatly interfered with the rain patterns.
Has singled out Africa as singularly vulnerable to climate change and weather extremes. Such vulnerability poses serious adverse repercussions for Africa's precarious socio-economic systems, even though the continent's countries cumulatively contribute only 4% of average global emissions.
Developing countries are waiting to see if the issue of financing the affected states will be successful in this 27th Climate Change Conference. Shadrach Smiu, KUTV.
This is all what I've heard about campus. Campus is full of freedom.
Ni cumulative.
Mchezo hiyo ilipoka gani kwani?
I'm a fourth year student and I mostly hang out at shopping center. I'm an arboretum, and what I'd tell first years is it's never too late to start being serious.
To the Church O'Clock Show. I'm your host, Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Teros.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. Have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo tune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Arts
from 7 to
10 a.m. only on KUTV.
members of parliament want the national government through the Ministry of Trade to formulate a policy ring-fencing 2% of the monies allocated under the National Government Constituencies Fund and Uwezo Fund for the purposes of equipping artisans with the necessary skills, technology and tools. The motion, which was proposed by Dagoretti South MP John Kiarie, is set to create wealth and job opportunities through local manufacturing.
Cognizant of Kenya Vision 2030, which seeks to make the country an industrialized middle-income economy within the next 8 years, Dagoretti South Member of Parliament John Kiarie has raised a motion to the National Assembly wanting 2% of monies allocated to the CDF and Uwezo Fund to go towards equipping artisans with skills, technologies and tools, with the aim of bringing forth a huge impact of the utility of resources available, and especially to the younger generation.
We are in an era where each and every individual shall be remunerated commensurate to the problems that they solve. The problem solvers of our time, Madam Speaker, are the innovators. What support are innovators getting today, Madam Speaker? None at all. Not from government, not from corporate Kenya, not even from us as MPs, Madam Speaker.
In support of the motion, Parliament wants the government to formulate a policy to ring-fence the allocation, demonstrating the immense potential for wealth creation and job opportunities through local production generated in the country.
And I think this is an area where the government should invest so that we can turn our young people into productive forces to contribute to the economy.
And this motion should be the precursor for us to be able to go to the CDF regulation and change them and put the 2% to support the artisans, to support people with talent, and to support our young people who are rearing and yearning to make a difference in their own lives without having to follow around an MP or a politician to make money.
They noted most of the innovations and artworks do not go beyond making sensational stories in their localities, local dailies, and social media mentions due to lack of funding. The members acknowledged possibility of reducing imported products by 2 billion shillings, as most of the imports are not relevant to the Kenyan market, and that by formulating a policy via the Ministry of Trade and Industry, there will be enough capital, appropriate technology, skills and tools.
We must empower them, Mr. Speaker, through providing the provisions, Mr. Speaker, which will encourage them to sell their product within this country and even exporting them, Mr. Speaker.
And that Uwezo Fund should go to young people who have talents, who are within our constituencies, in our wards, and who are able already. They are trying to do something.
The members of the August House have appealed to all national programs to use the local artisans in a bid to empower them and economically revamp the informal sector instead of relying heavily on imports. Eugene Moyabi, KUTV.
Moving on swiftly, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, has applied to withdraw the 7.3 billion corruption charges against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Mr. Haji applied to withdraw the charges under Section 87A of the Criminal Procedure Code, saying investigations into the matter were not complete. The investigating officer, Obadiah Kuria, told the Anti-Corruption Court Magistrate Victor Wakumile that there are some areas in the case that were not adequately covered because he was not given sufficient time to complete the probe. Mr. Gachagua was charged in July with 9 other people and companies and was released after depositing a cash bail of 12 million Kenyan shillings. Well, at that, we take our first break right here on KUTV Primetime News. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go too far.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu
tupopoa ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na uasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
And there we go. The platter is ready. So as you can see, there it is. A whole chicken that has been roasted in the oven together with roasted potato wedges, and we finished it off with the vegetable sweet and saute. So this is our second wheel.
Why are you taking medicine? Are you okay?
Yes, I am. The tablet is for HIV prevention.
Pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP, refers to antiretroviral drugs taken daily by HIV-negative people who are at ongoing risk of HIV infection to reduce their chances of becoming infected. If used consistently, PrEP can reduce the risk of HIV infection by over 90%. However, because it does not protect against unplanned pregnancy, it should always be used with a family planning method. To get PrEP and any other HIV prevention method, visit a healthcare provider. To talk to someone on PrEP, uliza NASCOP at 0800 724 848 or use direct line 0726 460 000 or 1190. This message is brought to you by the National Syndemic Disease Control Council.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Remember, you can follow this broadcast live on our KUTV Facebook page at KUTV Kenya and on YouTube at KUTV Kenya. Let's carry on. Religious leaders have called on the government to involve Kenyans on the reintroduction of genetically modified organisms crops in the country. Speaking today at a press briefing at Westwood Hotel in Nairobi, the clergyman wants GMO ban reinstated, citing public participation.
Sober and resolute is their message. Bent into the heart of discussion is genetically modified organism crop, this time with a precise message from religious leaders.
We urge that the ban be immediately reinstated and an inclusive public participatory process be instituted to look into long-term and sustainable solutions to issues affecting food insecurity and agricultural productivity in the country.
So before we make any statement, before we say yes or no to anything that the government has proposed, we first of all consult. So there has been a lot of consultations internally among ourselves to see how best can we approach this issue.
The men in cloak have issued rallying cry to the government to reinstate the ban on GMO, citing lack of public participation in lifting the ban, and as such Kenyans have been denied an opportunity to choose. A prospect they say should be unthinkable is now troubling front and center.
Whereas there was public participation that led to the banning of GMOs in Kenya in 2012, we are highly disappointed that this time round there was no public participation in lifting the ban.
Countries like Australia, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Greece and Turkey, among others, have banned the use of GMO. Algeria and Madagascar among African countries that have put a stop to the use of genetically modified organism crop. This is due to fears that GMO have the potential to cause harm to human and animal health and ecosystem, as well as dramatic reduction in plant diversity. They are asking hard and pertinent questions that they hope to get answers soon, even as they invite the government on discussion table.
issue of food insecurity has been there. So even when the ban was effected, the hunger was still there. So the question we are asking ourselves is, what is it that has changed between the year 2012 and 2022 that now we want to lift the ban?
Religious leaders have drafted some of the recommendations that they hope will lay down a roadmap to drought mitigation in the country. The religious leaders have also challenged the government to put in place mechanisms to support indigenous crops.
Religious leaders have been forced to confront a challenge that has not been felt for quite a generation, and they now want it to be part of the national dialogue. On their shoulders rests a huge responsibility, and such is a troubling calculation. Auma Evans for KUTV, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, Winnie Odinga has been listed by the ODM party for consideration by Parliament to join the East African Legislative Assembly, EALA. The ruling UDA party has also opted for party bigwigs, including former Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar. Both Wiper and Jubilee parties also have a slot each.
Katika orodha iliyotolewa na vyama vya ODM na
Also, Charles Kimani, the founder of Jamii Products, is making eco-friendly goods including envelopes, gift bags and packaging bags, among others, from khaki for sale, and is offering training for free to people living with disability and prisoners. Laban Shaban caught up with Kimani at his enterprise in Waitavia, Kiambu County, and fired the following report.
The 2017 plastic ban that came into law in Kenya presented a new business opportunity for a fourth-year student of Business and Information Technology at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, Charles Kimani. A gap for shopping bags was looming, and Kimani grabbed the opportunity in 2018 to earn a living while protecting the environment from the toxicity of plastic bags.
So the year 2018, January 23, I borrowed a M-Shwari loan of 1,600. And of course, that money helped me to gather some, then, remember that the government has banned the plastic bag in the year 2017. So mimi nilipopata hiyo loan, I was like, nilikuwa natafuta the waste. Not a waste, just waste. Hizi makaratasi za unga, sanatoa ya ndani. Then kuna vile nilikuwa na mold. I used to mold papers linakaa kama packaging, kama bahasha.
Jamii Products Enterprise, based in Waitavia in Thika, Kiambu County, makes eco-friendly khaki products including envelopes, gift bags, packaging bags, popcorn bags, cake boxes, book covers, among others. The bags are biodegradable, compostable, and cost-effective.
I continue discovering about the bahasha, gift bags, popcorn bag. Between the January to August, I could discover all those products and I could able to make them.
Though his business is currently flourishing, owing to the growing and overwhelming demand for his products, Jamii Products Enterprise CEO narrates the bottlenecks he encountered during the first stages of inception, where the entity collapsed.
September, I closed the business due to some issues. I happened to hire 2 guys, then they corrupt the business. Remember, I was a student, so tukapata biashara imeisha, so I closed it. Then pressure mingi ikakuja, watu wanataka makaratasi kwa wapi. By the way, remember that time nilikuwa natengeneza kwa kibada. The December of that year, nikapata pesa. Actually, zilikuwa 35,000 from another lady from Dadaab. She wanted me to train her community and share the raw material. Hapo ndipo nilipata startup capital. Nikasema now I can able to establish my own.
The company has engaged 15 employees full-time and is offering training to interested learners in Kenya and beyond. A full course costs Kenya shillings 15,000 for 7 to 10 days in training. Interestingly, Kimani trains people living with disability and others with special needs free of charge.
In 2022, I decided to share the skill to the community in terms of disabled, watu ambao wako na shida. different ways. Watu wengine prisons. But that is just for charity, because I believe that minority somehow wanakuanga ni kama wamesahaulika kwa society.
The founder of Jamii Products encourages more people to embrace eco-friendly businesses because he feels the demand is insatiable.
We do not only train the adults or the able people. We also train the special kids, such as those with disabilities, let's say Migu.
In Africa, we find that people never believe that they can do product like this one manually. When I share the skill in Kenya, people come first to believe. They come first to see so that they can believe. Wakuja waone kwanza, and then they come for learning.
From a small establishment in Thika, the company produces large volumes of products, working with another branch in Naivasha, Nakuru County. The future is bright for Jamii Products Enterprise. Laban Shaban, KUTV.
Straight into sports, a 14-member squad is set to represent Kenya at the World Shooting Championships, an event organized by International Practical Shooting Confederation that is scheduled for November 16th to December 4th in Pattaya in Thailand. The marksmen were competitively selected from various shooting clubs in the country across a vast membership, that has grown widely since the inception of the International Practical Shooting Confederation discipline in Kenya 4 years ago. Elsewhere, former FIFA president Sepp Blatter now says his decision to award Qatar the hosting rights for the World Cup was a mistake. The Swiss argues that Qatar is too small as a country and that the decision was made as a result of political pressures at the time. The 86-year-old adds that they had agreed in an executive committee to award the rights to the United States of America as a gesture of peace between them and Russia, who hosted 2018's World Cup. Well, that makes all that we had for you tonight right here on KUTV Primetime News. Thank you so much for staying with us for the broadcast. I've been in the company of Sami Okello, and I go by the name Daphne. Orina, do have yourself a good night. We meet on Friday.
Great to be with you. I'm Haiti Adams. It is the day after the United States midterm elections, and Washington is on edge as vote counting continues across the country. The final results of these elections will determine which party Republicans